quarter to 2 or 2 o'clock in the morning, so you would think if she was yelling and screaming running for her life, that somebody would have heard it. No. Nobody heard a thing. So.
They went to the Banff Springs Hotel, where she had picked up her final fares.
And he would do all of the manager and all of the staff there, and they would call anybody else there, so those names are all generated, and a file made up on them. We then go down to Cougar Street and talk to all the residents there, trying to determine who the one male and the 2 females were, which may lead us to how this guy got into the cab or whatever the case might be. And that wasn't very successful.
One man who worked at the Banff Springs Hotel and lived in staff accommodations said his roommate had a knife.
There was 2 other kids that stayed in that same room at the back attic. And he said, well, here's this knife. There was no knife, but here's the sheath. But this guy isn't even here because he'd already left to catch a plane back because he's going to a family reunion. So he wasn't even in back. He just branched out and other names surfaced. And so they're interviewed. It's a very transient area. So very quickly, either that night or the next night, we had an individual from Quebec with a knife threatening people in one of the other nightclubs. And of course, I interviewed him the following morning, and lo and behold, he admits to the crime.
Days into the homicide investigation, there was a break in the case.
Lo and behold, he admits to the crime. The guy said, well, I think I killed her. And so I said, okay, well, what do you recall? And where is the knife that you had? So the knife was obviously dropped in the bar. As it turned out, it wasn't the knife at all. And as it turns out, he wasn't the guy responsible. So, yeah, that was just drugs and alcohol delusions.
Officers pushed forward, and once again,
conversations I had with them, I told them what type of samples would work best. A full hair sample, a mouth swab, a blood sample. So the police had to use their investigative techniques as best they could without alerting the suspect that they were trying to seize a DNA sample from him in order to be comparing the profile to the blood in the taxi cab.
Then we did an undercover operation on him to get a DNA sample from him.
Samples were sent to the RCMP Forensic Lab in Ottawa. Back in 1990, it took between 10 and 14 days for initial results of the DNA comparison.
A lot of young guys out there cooperated with us because they weren't responsible. So they were helping us out. They gave us DNA samples. This individual refused to. So now you have to stop the wagon and say, okay, well let's get this guy either eliminated or else he's our prime suspect.
It turned out that the suspect's lack of cooperation didn't equate to guilt. DNA cleared him.
And then subsequently I went back and saw this guy here in Calgary and said, you're not the guy. And he said, oh, thanks very much. I said, you could have helped us big time if you would have done it right off the bat, but anyway, so.
The investigation extended beyond Banff, given the tens of thousands of people who visit daily from all over the world.
We also sent out letters to everybody who actually stayed